everybody, this is Mary and Cowie Owen.
And this is David Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and television that we loved before the first date. And today, I was made to watch Starship Troopers.
Yeah, you were.
Which all week I've been saying Super Troopers in my head and singing the ABBA song, but totally different.
Great movie. Super Troopers. Have you seen Super Troopers?
Does it have beams that are going to blind me?
No?
That's what the ABBA lyrics tell me.
We just got assaulted by a cat. No, not at all. It is just hilarious, and if we could, we'd watch it right meow. But we can't. That's a joke for Super Troopers fans.
Right meow?
Right meow.
Okay.
Are you saying meow? Starship
Sorry, I knocked you off.
Flaming
Starship
of crap.
Troopers.
Starship Troopers is, of course, the 1997 Paul Verhoeven movie with Casper Van Dien and Denise Richards and a bunch of people you know from the 90s.
And Jake Busey's teeth.
Yes.
Okay, but pause. Is Paul Verhoeven, did he do Showgirls?
Well, we'll start.
Or striptease?
You don't have to pause. You don't have to pause. That was my next line.
That's his line too of his bio.
So
okay.
Verhoeven is famous for a streak of movies that he made in the late 80s and 90s. He had a run from 87 to about 2000. RoboCop, Total Recall, Basic Instinct, Showgirls, Starship Troopers, and then Hollow Man, which was essentially where his career derailed.
Okay.
I think this movie didn't do as well as expected, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. But then Hollow Man just didn't really hit.
Is that Kevin Bacon?
Yes, and Elizabeth Shue.
That's all I know about it. I don't think I've seen that.
He went away for a while. He came back in it looks like in 2006, 2012. These movies didn't make it. I don't know if they were even theatrically released.
Accused of something?
Oh, probably. He seems like the kind of guy that would be. I didn't deep dive onto Verhoeven for this.
Just in his head, his file. In my head, his file has like a big red flag on it. I don't know why.
It would not surprise me. Also,
if he's completely innocent of everything, I'm sorry, but
yeah,
the red flag is there. I don't know why.
But I'll bolster your thought of a red flag by letting you know that in 2021 he released his most recent movie, which was a movie about lesbian nuns.
So very
feeds into your vision of him.
Well,
anyway.
And I'm just what I've heard about the treatment of Sharon Stone on the set of Basic Instinct, and I hear some stuff about Total Recall, and that's the one where Jamie Lee Curtis has to do a striptease, right?
Nope. That's
True Lies.
True
Okay,
Lies,
sorry.
Yes. I don't know. Sharon Stone is in Total Recall, so she was brought back. She was brought in for.
Well, I think it was
Basic
one of those where
of,
she didn't realize how inappropriate whatever it was at the time.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. So he had this run from 87 to 2000 of just movies that everybody knows. Like even if you haven't seen Hollow Man, like you probably have heard of him. Even you were able to go, oh, that's a Kevin Bacon Invisible Man movie. Like yes, it is. It's not a great movie. There's some camp appeal to Hollow Man, but it's not a great movie. But yeah, like I said, I really didn't crack into the past.
That's okay.
The outer shell of Verhoeven. Yeah, he seems like the kind of guy that could get caught up in that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. He also seems like the kind of guy that where time kind of just passed him by.
That does happen to the best of us.
Yeah, it's hard to say. So we were talking before we started, and you mentioned the fact that I said something and you don't remember. About how if you think the wrong thing about this movie, you're a bad person or whatever.
Or I think was he the director said it, or the writer or somebody.
He has a rough quote. But so I'll just ask you, and we can see if you pass the test.
Uh-huh.
Are the humans in this movie intended to be the good guys?
Well, I'm getting serious Nazi vibes.
Yeah.
From wardrobe and the fact that they retain the bug at the end to do experiments on.
Yeah.
And there's kind of some Hitler Youth vibes.
Yeah.
So are they the good guys? It depends who started this rivalry with the bugs, and I'm gonna suspect it was not the bugs.
Even if the bugs started the rivalry, that's what I'm saying. Like, before this society doesn't exist because the bugs started a rivalry. This society existed before the bugs were involved. So absent the bugs, does that look like a good society to live in? Where violence is glorified, where citizenship relies on service to the government, where there is absolute sort of power.
Well, yeah, dude's whole lecture at the beginning of violence is the way to solve all conflicts, and I was like, I see what you're doing there. And the whole idea of a citizen versus a civilian, and you are only a citizen if you serve in the military, essentially. I don't know if
federal service, which is
we only see as military stuff.
Yeah, which extends into like the sciences and stuff, I believe, in this world. But yes, like being a government. So it would be like in our reality here, it would be like you'd have to join the FBI or be a cop or a firefighter or a government scientist, quote unquote.
Yeah, well, given though, don't they address Neil Patrick Harris with some? He's captain.
Well, he goes into military intelligence.
Yeah.
So he goes into the military. Right. Like they all sign up for federal service.
I kept thinking of it as Starfleet, but it's
yeah. No, well, I talked briefly about that. Like I think that's the perfect contrast to this, where this is a united future Earth society that is united under a fascist sort of authoritarian regime, whereas focused on violence and military dominance, whereas Star Trek is focused on people coming together for the good of mankind and the betterment of society.
Well, what I was going to say a second ago, and this is something that I noticed this tone in the U.S. today, the idea that military service is the highest and best way to serve the country. Yeah. And in some people's eyes, the only way. Like if you are a government employee, if you are a teacher, if you are any provider, like you go out of your way to work in an underserved community. And so, you could be a high paid lawyer or doctor, but you work in a free clinic or legal aid or whatever. Yeah. None of that counts. We give our best honor to the military, even though. And, I grew up around the time of tailhook, so I don't automatically think that anyone in the military is virtuous or moral or smart or any of these things. They just happen to be in the military. And yet we have this deification going on, which I realize is controversial and makes me in the minority. And it just seems like we give all this, like I said, highest and best status to people in the military. And so I see that here. Like if you are joining the military, you get citizenship, and otherwise you don't.
I think like anybody who has a belief that they have a justified dislike of something or some group, I think you have the same blind spot that everybody has. You are the guy who wants vouchers, who's pointing to the one bad teacher who slacked off and didn't teach his kid properly, and forgetting about the 30 other great teachers that his kid has had along the way. Like there are aspects of the military. I'm not saying I don't disagree. If you are listening to this and you don't remember a horrifying military scandal involving the loss of human rights or human life of people, wait a day or two, and you'll get one. The military attracts a certain type of person, just like law enforcement attracts a certain type of person. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean 100% of them are those people. I think in general, you have a big problem with the military that stems from a few very public bad things, in the same way that some people would have with the Catholic Church. And which I
nice
think that,
how you just stuck that in there.
Which I'm saying, I think that you of all people would be able to start to rationalize that you're just and therefore it has permeated its way into your general opinion of the military, and now you don't. I know plenty of people who went to Afghanistan and Iraq and, saw combat or didn't, set up freaking telecommunication cables and didn't, but still did their part. And we're in an active zone, and that takes a certain kind of courage that I'm not afraid to admit I don't have. So I think that there is something that's earned by that, just because a different person did something horrible while in the military doesn't tarnish the whole military for me, just as it doesn't tarnish the whole Catholic Church for you.
Sure. I can see that. I object to, like I said, treating military service like that's the only way to serve, or like that's, it is. I mean, listen, no one wants me in the military. There are some people who are not suited for it. I was not at 18, physically, emotionally, et cetera, et cetera. Some people are cut out for it and some people are not. And some people have other ways to serve the country, serve humanity, whatever. And I just wish that we would stop stratifying them.
Yes, and
that's all.
And I don't disagree. I do think that military service can be on a different level, in wartime especially, even if we unjustly started the war. But I don't disagree with you, and that's part of what, to bring it back,
yes,
what this movie is saying. Like deifying violence and the military industrial complex and all the shit is not cool and not good. And Verhoeven is trying to show you that. And this is based on a book. I haven't read the book. I would hope that it goes into more. Actually have some audible credits. Maybe I'll get it. I would hope that the book goes into a little bit more. But that's the litmus test, right? Verhoeven basically said he wanted to make a movie that was so overtly satirical about the glorification of violence and fascism that anybody who looked at it and went, that's a society I want to live in. You would take a step back from that person, because everything that's presented in this, like the right to vote being restricted to citizens. And this is a world government too, like in this world, in this universe.
It depends how you define citizen. I think that's the thing. Like, I don't have a problem.
Well, I define citizen by the terms of this movie.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, yes, in our current world that we live in, I am fine with voting being conditional on citizenship. In that one, not so much.
Right. Of course. Yeah. That's not even.
Just to be clear.
Yeah.
On what a citizen is or is not.
All right. Well, talking about this movie, when we say citizen, we'll be speaking in the context of Starship Troopers.
Okay.
Freaking lib. What the hell?
What?
We'd be like, I don't want anyone to think I'm not progressive enough. No, I'm just joking, because that's not actually a progressive view. I think a real progressive would say everybody should vote. If you live here, you should just be able to vote. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen or not.
Which I
freaking middle of the road.
Darn centrist.
You probably love Joe Biden. Freaking Joe Biden.
Brandon. Me and Brandon.
Yeah. So that's the point of this, right? That you're supposed to watch this and you're not supposed to go, they're so cool. Look at them. They're so this is exactly how a society should work. Like, yeah, hell yeah, you should only be able to vote if you serve in the military. Like, hell yeah, you should just ruthlessly kill these bugs that no one really knows the motivations as to why they are attacking, us. And
well,
if they are,
I will say, like, they show a group of school kids gleefully stomping on roaches, like on the playground or whatever. And I was like, well, I know I'm supposed to not like this, but I do. Roaches are the only bugs that I kill.
Right. Well, but that's also the sort of fascist fervor, not fascism exactly, but the fervor that they're trying to demonstrate. Like, these are not the bugs that are your enemy. They're just bugs on Earth.
That's true. I don't know. Roaches are my enemy. But yeah, they have these like interstitial. They're like kind of like newsreels, but also kind of like things that would flash through on a website.
They're designed to be like someone's looking at this on a computer.
Yeah, and they also have. I'm not going to say Nazi specifically, but very war propaganda.
It's supposed to be overtones. The intention is for it to be Nazi. So,
well, there is a lot of. I imagine a student of Nazi propaganda would notice parallels between all the references to the bugs and the way that the Nazis talked about Jews in the 30s, or the way that Americans talked about indigenous people in the 1800s, or like a good scriptwriter or props designer or whatever, whoever's in charge of that, would have found a lot of language to use, because I'm sure there's the idea of talking about human beings as vermin is unfortunately not new.
Yes, and those little interstitial things are they do some of the world building.
Yeah.
They kind of get you. They give you that slightly deeper look into what's going on in this Starship Troopers universe. Stop picking your finger. It's going to distract you.
It's going to distract me from what? From
whatever we're doing here. I don't know what the hell you call this. Whatever the hell you call this.
It's the itching.
It's not itching.
I have eczema on my hands. It sucks.
But yeah, so the intent that of Verhoeven, and I think the author of the original book. I'm always terrified when I go to say author, I'll say Arthur.
Yeah,
and so sometimes I'm thinking about it so much that I say Arthur.
Yes.
The author of the actual book, I think that's his intent as well, to satirize violence, the deification of violence in the military and fascism, and how easy it is for people to get caught up. Like you see Rico, who is our main character, played by Casper Van Dien, in school. Like this movie starts, you're shown a flash of the conflict that is to come when the humans invade the bug planet, and Rico is wounded, and then that's where it ends, and we go back a year, and he's in school, senior, about to graduate from the education center, as it shows.
Even though, just to be clear, all these people are like in their late 20s.
Oh yeah.
It's very 90210 type casting.
It's the curse, right? It's the curse of casting a movie, because when you go under 18, and especially under 16, now you have all these rules.
Sure.
So it's just so much easier to cast 20-year-olds as teens.
He's not 20. He's in it. I would say 35 is how old he is.
In this movie?
Yes.
Let's see. He's born in 1968. So in 1996.
He was almost 30.
Sure.
Doing the mental math. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Like I would buy Denise Richards as a high schooler.
Yeah, I think Denise Richards works as a high schooler, and that's about it.
Neil Patrick Harris works.
Neil Patrick Harris is the baby faced enough.
Yeah.
He's probably also 30-something.
Yeah, but he worked. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. But
Jake Busey's teeth do not work.
Well, he's not supposed to be a high schooler.
Well, he definitely's not. He's like, isn't it horses where their teeth keep growing?
I don't know.
He has a little bit of that.
That's rude.
It's not
he's
untrue.
He's got them Busey genes. He can't help it.
They're strong. They're very strong.
Yes. So they're in school, and you see and Rico's father even objects to this. You see the subtle indoctrination that's happening in school. Mm-hmm. He has a teacher played by Michael Ironside, who comes back up again later in the movie, who is very sort of, he's teaching them some kind of like maybe social studies or whatever, teaching them about citizenship, the benefits of citizenship, like why you would be a citizen. And he asks Rico, and Rico gives him like the textbook definition, even says right out of the book, Rico, or whatever. And he is trying to sort of spur him on. And to his credit, he does what I think is the worst sort of indoctrination, which is he is subtly indoctrinating Rico all the time to the benefits of the government and to citizenship and service, while also at the same time saying, well, I think you should make your own choice. Yeah. So it's this kind of thing of like, I'm not telling you what to do.
I totally am. But I'm
just saying that citizens get the right to vote. I'm just saying that citizens get, privileges. Like, I'm just explaining to you how much better it is to be a citizen than a civilian.
But you choose,
this is a choice you have to make for yourself.
If you want to be one of those scummy people, well, that's your choice. I support that.
Right. So yeah, it's subtle, and the stuff that happens in school is great. And you can see that they're already being taught about the bugs, instead of being just like taught in biology how to what's it called? Why can't I think of the word? Dissect. Why can't I think of that word? Dissect a frog. They're dissecting a bug.
Well, again, it's those Hitler Youth vibes, right?
Right.
Like
they're showing
on paper, Hitler Youth was like, we just get together and learn how to be good citizens, but it was actually funneling them into their proper roles.
Yeah, they're in there showing you the insides of the enemy, and When Blanche Dubois tells you to cut open a bug and pull out its inside,
Blanche Devereaux. Blanche Dubois is
where did I get that from? You're right, Devereaux.
Streetcar Named Desire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, and it absolutely was. I could not focus on what she was saying in that scene. So I was like, is that?
Yeah, because she's like
Blanche.
She's like scarred up and has glasses because she's blind. And like everybody who's teaching these kids or that they interact with, who's part of the government
has some infrastructure, sort of disfigurement.
Is missing a limb, is blind, is missing 3 limbs.
Yeah,
you know, like they're showing you what the outcome time and time again of service.
Yes,
it is, and it's sad to say, like today that is becoming increasingly true. You know, too many veterans come back horribly wounded. You know, to be serious for a second, folks, they come back horribly wounded, and they don't put those people on the posters.
No,
they don't highlight that. But every single person that they interact with who represents the government is wounded.
What I was going to say was, the war that these folks have fought in was more like Vietnam than the first Desert Storm, which seemed to be very quick. And of course, now we know there were more, but like physically, it was not a lot of casualties. But yeah, there are definitely. I didn't get that it was high school for a while, again, because the quote students are so old looking, and it seemed like it was, you know, they were at like the academy or whatever
and
already.
It may not be high school. Maybe it's supposed to be college level.
There's a prom. There's all sorts of
but it's not explicitly high school, but it's not explicitly not high school. Yeah. Like it's like I said, they're at the education center. Yeah. And they do make reference to Rico going to Harvard, which is
and there's a football game, and
they do they do space football.
They
do space football, and with the it's space football because they have a silver ball and they do flips and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's arena football, basically. But it's like very clearly coded as high school, but they're like, it's like something, it could be something beyond, like maybe in this society, you don't start college till your 20s. I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe things are drawn out, but they do make reference to Rico going to college after the movie makes you fully aware of the fact that Rico is a dum-dum.
Yeah.
In terms of academics, he's a dum-dum.
Maybe in this world, Harvard is, I don't know.
Like Harvard is like a tech school.
I'm trying to think of a university that you will know as like not super impressive, but will not insult anybody else. But then I've already insulted people. So
like anything you name would potentially insult somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to Harvard. You want to be a mechanic. You're going to the best technical school in the country, Harvard.
Going to Harvard Community College.
Right. So, but yeah, I don't know where we were going with that, but how we got to there to here, but wherever we started, we're here now.
Can I mention my favorite? It's not even stunt casting because I don't think anybody would really recognize her. The new what do they call them? Space Marshal, which is like the head of everything. Yeah. At one point, the first one's
there's a disastrous mission
doesn't work,
mission,
and he steps aside, and they have a new one. She is played by Mrs. Teasley, who was the principal at 90210.
Jeez.
And I only know because the actress died, I don't know, in the last 3-4 years. Everything, my sense of time is not what it was anymore. COVID messed with it. That actress played a character on The West Wing briefly, and it's one of those where like she's on screen for 30 seconds, but it's a pivotal moment. And so if you were a fan of the show, you remember her. So she was that. So in all my West Wing fan groups, oh dear God, I admitted to that. People were talking about how she died. So yeah. So again, very 90s though, in having her there. So.
Oh yeah. The whole thing. I mean, even the people that you don't recognize, you kind of recognize. Like, so Casper Van Dien, who he had a moment, and then something happened. Maybe people were like, he doesn't really act that well. He's like if Viggo Mortensen couldn't act. He's got this sort of square jaw, this very sort of handsome Squidward face.
Or like if Jean-Claude Van Damme all of a sudden lost the ability to be muscular and do stunts.
Sure. But then Dina Meyer, who you said, I know the name, but
She was in some superhero show, Birds of Prey, something. She was Batgirl. And she was like somebody's teacher on 90210 or Dawson's Creek, or like she has that air about her.
Yeah, let's see. What do we? She was in The Magicians, 3 episodes in The Magicians. She did voices in video games. She was in American Horror Story for 1 episode.
Okay.
She's in The Flash for 1 episode, which would tell me that she's in that DC TV universe.
Okay.
That WB DC universe. She was in a movie called Nightshade in 2022. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she's working still to this day. Got projects upcoming. But yeah, she's, and you recognize her. She's like, you know how every now and then there are 2 actors that like blend together.
Yes.
Like the guy that gets the paper early and the guy from Friday Night Lights.
Yes.
Yeah. Like those 2 guys, the guy from Office Space and the guy from Friday Night Lights, right? Like, are those the same? Which ones are the same guy? Who gets the paper early?
Friday Night Lights guy.
Okay, and then the guy from Office Space is not the guy that gets the paper early.
Okay, Ron Livingston and Kyle Chandler. Okay,
yes.
Okay.
Those 2 guys to me are the same person. And at this time in her career, she is just Carrie Russell in my head.
Yeah,
they're just the same person.
Yeah, it's curly hair.
Yeah, the curly reddish blonde hair.
Well,
they're just the same person.
Carrie Russell would never take her top off in a movie.
True.
Not in 1 scene, but 2 scenes.
Exactly right. But before we get to that, Denise Richards, Jake Busey, Neil Patrick Harris, Clancy Brown, who the kids will know as Mr. Krabs.
Yep.
Sponge me boy.
And if you are a fan of the podcast, we talked about him a lot in Highlander.
Yeah, he is the main villain in Highlander. Patrick Muldoon, who is in stuff like.
I know that name.
Xander. He's the guy that played Xander.
Oh, yeah. He looked very familiar.
Yeah, he is in, let's see. Let's IMDb help me out here. He is known for...
He looks kind of like...
a bunch of stuff that's not relevant.
Brandon Routh or the guy who was in Band of Brothers.
To me, he looks like Joe Manganiello.
Yeah.
Or whatever his name is.
Matthew Settle is the guy in Band of Brothers, but I forget who what his character's name was.
Yeah, what was I gotta scroll back to the 90s here. Like, yeah, he's been a working actor. He's doing voices and a lot of stuff. Let's see. I want to see what is his thing that people would know him from.
Patrick Muldoon. Yeah, that's a name.
Okay, he was in Stigmata. He was in the sequel to Arrival.
There was a sequel?
Not the one we watched.
Okay.
The Charlie Sheen movie, Arrival, from the 90s.
I don't know.
You don't know about the Charlie Sheen movie, Arrival?
No.
Oh, God. We might have to watch that then.
I don't think I want to.
He was a regular on Melrose Place. 35
he does
episodes.
have this whole thing has a very Melrose Place air.
Richard Hart on Melrose Place.
I don't know.
He was in Silk Stockings. Nice. One episode.
What even was that show? I know it was on Lifetime, and I can see the ad in my head.
Yeah, it was like a kind of steamy detective show.
Okay.
And he was on 3 episodes of Saved by the Bell.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he was on 2 episodes of Who's the Boss.
Okay, I think we can stop. I don't think there's not really anything that's making me go, oh yes, that guy.
Yeah, but Michael Ironside, of course, who plays Rasak.
That's an odd name to choose.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. But then there's other guys like Matt Levine.
No,
who is in the kind of blue-eyed guy who's asking everybody questions in the shower. Anyway,
sure.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Guys that you know, like you would know them if you saw them, kind of thing. But yeah, it's just full of those kind of people. If you watch Desperate Housewives, Brenda Strong is the commander, the captain of the ship. Yes, yeah, and I've seen her in other things too. So yeah, just a lot of good, recognizable people. None of that. It's not one of those where like 3 or 4 people from the cast turn out to be mega stars later on. But it's a good knowledge test of character actors. Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, and then the other one of the other high-ranking military people, Dean Norris is his name. He's been on Law and Order, Criminal and
the guy
Organized Crime recently.
who's above who's the commander at the training facility, who's above
and
Clancy
he was
Brown.
On, I think, Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah, he's been on a ton of stuff. He's got that sort of Michael Ironside, like he is Michael Ironside's doppelganger. For like it was him or Michael Ironside.
Do we want a blonde bald guy or a brunette bald guy?
What do we want?
Yeah.
So topless. The shower scene, which you commented in the moment, it felt gratuitous.
Yes.
And so there's stories, and I don't know how much any of them are confirmed, but there are stories that the cast was not super into it. Into doing it. And Verhoeven tried to explain to them.
Okay.
Please don't right into the microphone if you can avoid it.
I'm just my reaction was so strong.
I'm just thinking about the people.
Okay.
And what he said, I think rings true. He's trying to get across the fact that this is not unusual in this society. A bunch of people co-ed showering, like we're past all that shit. We're past pretending that there's modesty, not because we've made any social progress, but because the state says so. And they were all like, yeah, well, but you don't have to do it. Mm-hmm. Like, fucking put your money where your mouth is. So on the day when they filmed that scene, Verhoeven and I think his first AD or maybe the screenwriter were both on set fully nude during the filming of that scene.
Wow.
To show that this doesn't mean anything.
I like that. I do not think that scene conveys that particular message. Well, but props to them for insisting what's good for the goose, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And he said, sure, bet. And I think, the idea is it's supposed to show this camaraderie that's building. And he's doing that at multiple times, right? He's got, Flores, who is the Dina Meyer's character, she's the quarterback of the football team. Mm-hmm. She's being recruited.
Co-ed football teams
co-ed football, co-ed showers, like everything's co-ed. Nobody, the main military guy gets replaced by a woman of color. Mm-hmm. He's trying to show over and over again that whether through brute authoritarian force or whatever means it may have been, this society is past all those gender hangups that we're still stuck on. That maybe it did take fascism to force people to just forget about this shit, but in this society, people have just forgotten about it.
Well, interesting though, watching this 25 plus years later, and you may have that equality, but there's still a gender binary, and everyone appears to be heterosexual still. So,
well, sure. I mean, but knowing Verhoeven, if he had the chance, he would have definitely put some lesbians, some lesbo stuff in there.
Oh Lord, yeah, I'm not buying this. I have to say, like this all feels like it was a backwards reasoning into why you can show boobs.
Again, I don't think this is coming from. I don't know, but I don't think this is coming from I think this is coming from the source material, an attempt to convey the world of the source material, whether or not it goes over completely or not. That was the intent. And I can respect at least that intent, that when he's given a chance to show that men and women are equal in this society, you've got Strong as the captain of the ship. You've got, the high commander becomes a woman.
Yeah.
The captain of the football team is a lady. Like, it's so easy to put Rico in that position as football captain. And Flores even talks about being heavily recruited by professional or by college teams. Mm-hmm. And, where's she going to go play college ball at? So like she's shown to be very good at what she does. She's the captain of the team. So I'm not trying to hold this up as some sort of progressive masterpiece. I'm just saying that I can appreciate that they were trying world building, and whether or not Verhoeven's idea to get a bunch of 20-somethings, naked in a shower scene is effective or not. I think the intent was there, because it's easy enough to get TNA in a movie without asking, without having to do something like and having to also be nude while it was shot.
Yes. Well, on a lighter note, so there's a sex scene, and Dina Meyer takes off her top and no bra underneath, and
Sure.
she's wearing her like military, her work clothes essentially, and no bra. I do not understand. I am not a member of, as they say, the itty bitty titty committee. And so I will never understand women not wearing bras. If you have anything at all, if you have more than like your average 10-year-old, it seems like it would be very uncomfortable. I will never understand that. I know it is more titillating to take off the shirt and the breasts are right there versus, hang on, I got to find the straps, but that doesn't seem comfortable to me at all.
Well, and I think that's in part because you don't really have a frame of reference for it, like you don't know what it's like to be a B cup just wearing a tank top.
I think even as a B cup, that seems not comfortable.
Sure. But I'm saying, like, you just think that, like,
well,
I don't know, like the limited amount of women in my life who have talked about any level of this have varied. Like, for whatever reason, I know this or don't know this. I know that when my mom comes home from work, the first thing she wants to do is get out of that thing. So
I hear that a lot from people, and that's one thing when you get home, but like, she was at work before this and not, I don't.
She's young and perky, and like I said, they're not that big.
Well, also, I think that's another argument in favor of the boobs are about titillation, not so much plot point.
But. So I will say again, in that scene, she takes off his shirt first, so everybody gets a little something to look at. All right, just whether or not you care about Casper Van Dien's physicality or not.
I mean,
everybody gets something to look
he's
at.
Not unattractive, but he is a big bowl of unseasoned pasta.
Well, yeah, Casper Van Dien is, if you were trying to design an actor, for a leading man, he is what you would design: square jaw, chin dimple,
piercing eyes,
symmetrical face, piercing eyes. He's got the swooped hair. He's like Tom Brady. Really reminds me a lot. He could play Tom Brady in the Tom Brady biopic. Let's get that. Somebody cue that up.
Yeah.
Fit. He's like fit muscular. He's not big. He's like cut. Like like you can't really be all the time because you have to be like dehydrating your body to get there. He probably had like 2 weeks before that shirts off scene to like fast and stuff and be like cut weight and all this stuff to get that body fat down. But in that scene, there's something for everybody. And she is portrayed, again, I'm not trying to say Paul Verhoeven is this feminist and or progressive icon, but she is portrayed in the masculine role in that she's on top of him. She pins him down. She is in charge of that encounter in a way that is, and she's also pursuing him during the movie. In a way that is, I think, again, maybe trying to portray how this society works. That it's not, and also to portray what the character of Rico wants. He wants the chaste Denise Richards' character, Carmen, when he has this rough and tumble jock girl who has everything in common with him.
Yes.
And he rejects her while going after
only when Denise Richards breaks up with him does he say, "Oh, okay, you'll do." So yeah,
right. She's a second choice.
I'm not seeing a strong feminist message in any of this.
I'm not saying it's a strong feminist message. I'm saying that he's, like I said, I don't think Verhoeven is this strong feminist or progressive. I think he's just trying to convey the world that this film is set in, where women can be the aggressor and men can not be the aggressor.
Well, if you say so, but
I say so. And
okay.
Because we're in this society, you have to listen to me. I'm in charge here.
Sure.
I was placed at the head of this household.
You can, yes. I am under the umbrella of your authority. Yes. If you want to think that's,
Okay. Well, anyway, so let's take a little detour here. What are your overall thoughts on this movie? What did you think? What did you care for or not care for?
I mean, it honestly does not have the tone of satire to me. or not enough. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen this, but Mars Attacks is also supposed to be satirical or like mock.
Yeah, I think there's a line there. I think there are movies that satirize things while being serious,
Mm-hmm.
and there are movies that are comedies that are satirizing things.
Okay, yeah, I see the distinction there.
You know what I mean? It's like The Onion is a comedic satire.
Yeah.
You know, like, and this is not like, this is using dark humor.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not supposed to laugh out loud. This is making a joke about cancer, like, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, it's like that. It's in that same, it's gallows humor. It's look at how bad this would be if we're not, what they're really saying is, we're probably not this far from this if you guys keep doing what you're doing with this glorification of the military and violence in our world.
Well, I don't think then that drawing parallels between your quote good guys and Nazis is really the way to do that, because it's very easy for people to be like, oh, those are like Nazis. Clearly we're nothing like that.
Well, you're not supposed to think they're the good guys. That's the thing.
I don't know. I think there are far too many people who would take this seriously.
Well, and there are people who have. So you can say, like, on the one hand, to me, the satire is over the top. Just the outfit that Neil Patrick Harris wears.
Yeah.
Because I think what he's hoping to do, right, he eases you into it. Mm-hmm. And at the point where you start to think, these people are under threat by these evil bugs, and then Neil Patrick Harris walks out in a leather trench coat with like literal Nazi designs on his outfits. They've got the wings and the knife, just missing the skull.
With the little eagle with the crest various places.
Yeah, like that's the point where you're supposed to go,
oh my gosh, are we the baddies?
Right, exactly. It's supposed to be that more like, why do we have skulls all over everything? Why do we have, why is everything dark or dark gray? It's like when people don't, like one of the red flags is someone who is in the Star Wars community is someone who's obsessed with the Empire and wants to like cosplay an Empire officer.
Right.
You're like, no, that outfit looks like that because it's supposed to look like a Nazi uniform. You're not supposed to want to cosplay those guys.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not. It's supposed to be tough to find guys to reenact the Confederates. You're not supposed to be struggling to find guys to reenact the Union part of the The sign-up sheet has been full for the Confederate Army for 10 years nonstop, and we struggle every time to force somebody to be the Union soldiers. Like, this isn't how it's supposed to be. These aren't the good guys. And I think that's what they're trying to say. Like, they set up this almost sympathetic thing. Like, yeah, it's like, this is a little militaristic. They're glorifying violence. And then at a certain point, you're supposed to be like, oh, I see. The bugs are the Jews. And these guys are the Nazis. Like, oh shit. Mm-hmm. Whether or not it works is up to the individual. To me, like I said, it seems over the top. It just seems so, and that was the intention. That was the director's intention.
Well, I don't know.
If it doesn't land, it doesn't land. I can understand it.
Considering that the actual Nazis referred to Jewish people as vermin, I don't think then making the bugs the corollary for the Jewish people here is so great. But
sure, I don't disagree with that. But they think that the bugs are these bugs. They have giant mandibles that look like large noses. They have they're thought to be.
Okay, I didn't see any noses. I saw big vaginas.
You saw one big
in the middle of their
vagina.
face. That was absolutely a vagina.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's just a great solid science trope. Like the guy from the guy from Dune, the navigator that uses the spice to make them travel. He's got his little floppy vagina mouth.
There were a lot of vaginas in Dune, sand vaginas. I remember commenting
everywhere.
On that. And
everywhere.
Was there a sand penis too? I think there was.
I mean, sandworms are kind of sand penises.
There were too many genitals in Dune.
The sandworms are like a penis and vagina in one.
No, thank you. This is the old Dune. I haven't seen the new Dune. I assume it's
new Dune's
similar.
great. Also has penises and vaginas.
Okay. Good to know.
But yeah, and they think that they're not intelligent at first. Just the idea, they do a little interstitial where two scientists are debating, and one of them is like, "The idea of an intelligent bug is insulting to me." Like the idea that these things that we're trying to class as creatures who are trying to make a threat are just they couldn't possibly be intelligent, because if they're intelligent, now they're like us, and if they're like us, they're harder to kill.
Well, I think that's a common trope in anything where a society is trying to dehumanize this minority group. You, at the same time, have these arguments that they're not smart at all.
Right.
And then on the other, they're so smart, they're conniving, they're learning to blend in, and you think you can't be both at the same time. It's probably neither, but you have to, these two things exist simultaneously.
Right. And like from the movie, what we do know is that humans started to encroach into the bugs' areas because the extremist Mormons set up an outpost
at Fort Joe Smith. Oh my God, that was just like great. Blink and you miss it. Like, whoo.
Yeah, it's just a nice little hit, and they all get slaughtered.
Yeah.
So as far as you can tell from the context of the movie, again, having not read the book, the bugs are kind of just defending themselves when they like knock loose an asteroid and send it towards Earth.
Yeah.
As far as we can tell, they're just defending themselves, and we go to them. They, other than that asteroid, which again is just sort of their natural self-defense for us encroaching and killing all the Mormons. That's just them defending themselves. Like if they are creatures, they're just doing what creatures would do. And if they're not creatures and they're smart, then what we were doing to them to make them defend themselves was wrong, because they're sentient creatures. If you taking their land is not right if they're like us, but if you dehumanize them, you can take their land all you want.
Well, that is also a message that Americans don't really want to hear.
Oh, of course not.
Of course not. God's plan for us to take all this land.
It is. How dare you say anything different? But yes, great. So there's great performances in this movie. I get where you're coming from when you say that the maybe the satire is not enough. There are people who watch Spinal Tap and think that it's just a band that had bad luck. Have you seen Spinal Tap?
Yes, I don't remember anything about it except for this goes to 11.
Yeah, this one goes to 11.
Well, I think it's okay. So we talked about in the last couple episodes, we talked about at some point, some people watch Fight Club and don't realize that Tyler Durden is the bad guy.
Yes,
but there's that point when the narrator has this realization of, oh my God, Tyler, you've gone too far. And tries to stop Tyler and ends up and eventually stopping him. That doesn't happen here. So I think you need something like that. You need it's not breaking the fourth wall, but you need something in there where someone realizes what the movie is actually trying to say. Now, given that happened and people still think that Tyler Durden is a great guy, so maybe that's not totally the answer. But
I can appreciate that perspective, but here's my counterpoint.
Okay.
We are the ones who are supposed to realize that. So this movie ends with some of the last things that are shown or done are a repeating of the cycle.
Yeah.
Rico, who has survived all these encounters and is now the leader of Rico's Roughnecks, says the exact same things that I'm going to call him Roscoe.
Yeah.
That Roscoe said to him, that Michael Ironside said to him. He has been doing that as he's moved up through the ranks. He's been repeating verbatim the words of the state, the words of authority, the glorification of violence. We are supposed to watch him go from a kid who is maybe on the fence. She's legitimately not sure. He's privileged. He's rich. We're reminded of that several times. And he's maybe not sure. And the state manages to still get him and suck him in. And by the end of the movie, Rico, who started roughly a year ago, on the fence about accepting the authoritarian nature of the state, in the end is the tool of the authoritarian nature of the state. And we're supposed to be the ones that have that realization that you're talking about. It's supposed to be inside of us. We're supposed to go, oh my God, he just said the line, I got one rule. He just said the line that the guy said to him. At other points, he's repeating things that his drill instructor said.
Yeah.
He's repeating things that the propaganda has said. He wants to kill all the bugs. He becomes, he goes through this process where he becomes a analog for the fascist state. And those last moments where we're shown that the bug is being held, Neil Patrick Harris, who is psychic, which they just don't even like hit on that much in this movie, which I hope they do a lot more in the book. Humans have started to develop psychic abilities, so and it's legitimized. He places his hand on the brain bug, who is the bug. You know, they originally, like we were saying, they think these bugs know nothing and they're just going on instinct. Then they realize they're driven. And you're supposed, and
they can make a plan.
In figuring that out, Neil Patrick Harris also says in his Nazi uniform, I have to send hundreds of people like you off to die a day, when it turns out that Rico's mission was a setup to figure out if there was one of these smart bugs on this planet. You know, he's just like, you're meat to me. You're not a human. You're not a valuable life. You're the mobile infantry. This is what you're for, you know, because I'm trying to save humanity. Your individual life has no value to me.
Well, you know, so that's an interesting, there were parts of this, I guess, when they were getting to the bug planet the first time, it felt very much like movie depictions of D-Day.
Yeah.
To me.
Oh, yeah.
So same war. Yes. Different army.
And I think in that lead up to that initial bug planet, you are supposed to be on board. Yeah. Because they're giving that. He's doing that. He's giving you that subtle D-Day imagery. He's giving Verhoeven is relying on these images that you've seen of these previous military movies, you know, Full Metal Jacket and these sorts of things, where you've seen how this camaraderie arises amongst these troops and their justified killing. They even give Rico true justification when the asteroid impacts his home country, his home city of Buenos Aires. They give him righteous justification for the part that he's playing to hook you in to that moment where they come out of the, you know, and the news reporters there, and, you know, like, to that moment where they come out and they just get their asses handed to them in the first disastrous, you know, because everybody believed the propaganda. There's a moment when they're on the ship and there's these plasma pod things flying up at them, and the captain is just like, don't worry about that. We've been told they'll be light and they'll be random. And then just within a couple of minutes, they realize these aren't light and these aren't random. That there's thousands of them and they're shooting at us, and they take down this whole, you know, armada that's there to support the troops on the ground. So they're setting you up the whole time to be on board. Like I said, you're supposed to, for the first half of the movie, you're supposed to be like, this is kind of icky. But like, hey, these bugs attacked them. Like, this is like, we're justified. And he's relying on that D-Day imagery and to hook you in. That's why I say we're supposed to be the ones that have the revelation. It's not supposed to be a character in the movie, because this movie doesn't really have, so many movies have an analog for the audience. Yeah. This movie doesn't really have one.
Well, I'm thinking of, so you're talking about, Rico gets molded by the state. Yeah. Isn't sure about it at first. And then I was thinking I liked it better when Christian Bale did it in Swing Kids. So there is no Robert Sean Leonard here.
Right. To go on the journey for us.
And then eventually rebel or whatever.
Right. We have to go on the journey that a character would normally go on. So I think your observation is valid. There is no character that goes on that journey. The movie doesn't stop to tell you, because when the movie ends, they've got the brain bug. They've got an amazing, brave military leader in Rico, who is commanding a now famous squad of soldiers that they can use as a propaganda tool. And they are going off with righteous justification to wipe out the bugs, because now they got a brain bug. So they're going to learn about them. They're going to wipe them out. And like, just in your brain, because this movie goes on to have several sequels that just become like dumb action movies. Okay. And forget about any of the satire stuff. In your brain, you are now like, if you play these events out, you're like, yeah, this is like, they're going to do this. They're going to wipe these bugs out. But we now know these to be intelligent, like sentient beings, even if the drones are kind of not, they're still
it seemed like there were levels of bugs, which is, and I almost thought so. Xander and what's her face, Carmen, and toward the end of the movie are stuck in this cave, and they've been captured by the bugs, and all the bugs gather around them, and it's kind of, you know, like in increasing size. Like first come the little roachy ones, and then the bigger ones, and the, you know, and what's going to happen is they want to suck their brains out. So there's been this thing of, they suck the humans' brains out. I guess kind of to learn what the humans are
the
thinking.
Same way,
can,
right? Because they're organic and they don't have technology. The best they can do is suck out the brain and try to figure out how it works, I guess.
But I was kind of hoping there was going to be some like, I am the elderly bug. I have learned how to speak your language. We want peace. We were trying to tell you about its danger, but nothing. So they're just sort of marauding.
They're smart, but they're going on instincts, right? Ultimately, right? So they're like if we were at war with dolphins or elephants or something, like they have a societal structure, they have intelligence, but it's not the same kind of intelligence that we have. But I would have given anything for the bug with the vagina mouth to just stand up and then be like, tea? How do you take your tea?
Yeah.
I understand you humans like how do you say, a scone with it?
We've created something like flour, but it's not like your wheat, so it may be a little minty.
The scone is a rock. I don't know if you can eat that or not. But it looks like a scone. I get these flashes when I suck the brains out of little tiny pastries, and we don't know how to make them. I found a rock that looked like it looks like a croissant.
Crumbly. I don't know. I need to watch more Martha Stewart to really get my technique down.
The tea is just drone piss, but I figure it'll work.
It's the right color.
Yeah, it's brownish. I don't know. But I would have given anything for that bug to just like stand up and have a British accent and like he stands up and then puts a top hat on or like a derby and like
has a cane. Excuse me, I'm very elderly. But I'm all of 48 days old. Right. We don't usually live that long.
Yeah, but they do like they slowly sort of, there's a lot of subtlety about this movie, which is kind of weird to say.
Because this doesn't seem like a movie that benefits from subtlety.
Well, and when I say subtlety, I mean like they show you. So they get to this. There's the bug set a trap for them, and the state, the military, knowingly sends them into this trap because they want to see if there's a brain bug smart enough to set a trap on this planet. And when they get there, there's this base that's been devastated, and they see that the hole was formed in the barracks, and the bugs came in from underneath, and they find somebody who's had their brain sucked out. And Rico, nothing's really made of this. He finds an unusual small red bug about the size of like a Labrador or something, and those are like the royal tenders, like the ones that that stay by the queen to defend her. You notice when Xander and Carmen get trapped, those little bugs come out first and kind of check them. They kind of check the area.
Make way.
Then they go back in and the brain bug comes out. So they're like little drones that serve the brain bug.
So it's like seeing a Secret Service agent, the president's nearby.
Exactly. And so when they see that there, it's just another indication of this hierarchy of this bug society or whatever, that there are bugs that are their sole purpose is to tend to the brain bugs.
Yeah, I didn't get
when
that
you see one of these red bugs, a brain bug is around because the little red bugs are just for tending to the brain bug. Right. And I'm saying that's why it's subtle. Like it's on repeat viewings, you can start to piece these sort of things together. And it doesn't matter if you don't get it, but it's just the fact that they know a brain bug has been there because there's a brain. They now, you as the audience member now know, okay, he sucks brains out. That guy's brain was sucked out. So a brain bug had to be there. So when Rico saw that little red bug, these guys helped the brain bug, that sort of stuff. Like it's not like, oh, it's a subtle, bit of literary commentary or something. It's just like, oh, here's just a thing. They're not bashing over the head with it. On a second or third viewing, you're going to be like, oh, that's one of those red bugs, because this movie is long, but you wouldn't dedicate the 10 seconds it took to show that, or the hours it took to film that scene and the money it took to film him picking up that little red bug and looking at it. I say little, but like I said, it was the size of a dog.
Speaking of, him and bugs, they had this whole thing in bio class back at the beginning when they were dissecting the bug. And I thought that was going to come back in handy. Like, well, I know, based on when Blanche from Golden Girls taught me about bug anatomy, I know how to disable it. None of that. So I was like, all we saw from that was we saw Denise Richards puking.
Yeah. And I think that they're trying to teach you in there that these bugs have the same parts as we do. They're pulling out lungs and hearts and spleens, and they're naming them that way, like that these bugs aren't so different from us. It's again, it's back to that. If you're thinking about this movie as Nazis and Jews, here they're showing these students,
or fascists and oppressed people. I think that's
fine. Yes, that's fine. I mean, I don't think that the bugs are intended to be Jewish overtly. I think that there are parallels you can draw. But yes, the fascists and they're oppressed. They're inadvertently showing these kids that like these things aren't so different from us. They have hearts, they have lungs, they have these other,
and now we're going to kill them.
Yes, and it also is just an opportunity for a puke gag.
Because why not? Yeah, there's the different colored fluids that fly around this movie. All the bugs have goopy. Green, some has orange.
Drones have green, and the big bugs that shoot fire have orange.
Yeah, there's a lot of goop flying.
Goop. Yeah,
there's vomit. There's bug innards. There's
and the things are just slimy. Like when the proboscis comes out of the vagina mouth, it's just got ropey goop all over it. But speaking of goop, I've talked a little bit, I think, about Helldivers 2, which is a game that's been popular. It's waning in popularity due to some bad decisions by Sony recently, but and it is 100% this. There's no like main story to this game. It's a multiplayer game, but it's 100% Starship Troopers. They even do all of the propaganda stuff, and there are things like there's incidental dialogue when you're on your ship waiting between missions. You'll like walk up to a character and she'll be like, "Huh, I wonder who the coalition will have me vote for in this upcoming election." Like. And it is all about democracy, and it's
democracy with air quotes.
Yes, and it's like they are killing the bugs for democracy. We're spreading democracy, super democracy. And like if you bought the premium edition of the game, you got a little title, which is usually like lieutenant or recruit or whatever. You got a special title and a special outfit that was super citizen. And it's a different color, and you got a different outfit and everything because you're super citizen. You're better than everybody else.
That feels very Russian.
Yes, and it was very funny. And in that game, during the course of the game, when you're playing, you're constantly getting splattered with bug goop, and you're 100% just fighting the same kinds of bugs. Yeah. There's the bugs. There's not a bug that sprays fire. Is there? I can't remember. But you commonly encounter bugs that spray acid that are big tick-looking bugs like these beetle-looking bugs like these guys. There's a bunch of the little jaw monster bugs, and you're just shooting them and you kill them. And you come back from missions, and there's this moment where everybody's standing there that participated in the mission, and you do a little pose like finger guns or whatever, and you're just covered in various colors of bug goop head to toe, and it's hilarious. And
now for after that, that's when I would take a co-ed shower. Generally, no, but to get that stuff off me, yes, I would.
One of the great things about that game that they do, it's all about recruiting you, and you get like the sparsest amount of training in the game. And every time you die, you sign this contract at the beginning, basically saying that like when you die, all of your possessions will go to the next Helldiver. So every time you die in the game, when you respawn, you're just another faceless human. There was a theory that it was clones, but I don't think it's clones because I think it loses its effectiveness. Because one of the things that they highlight in Starship Troopers is when they do those initial shots where they're trying to recruit and they're showing just this sea of faceless, identical soldiers. They're trying to de-emphasize the individual.
Yeah.
And that's what the game does. So like sometimes you spawn in and you have a girl voice, and then sometimes you spawn in and you have a boy voice. Sometimes you have sort of like a voice where you can't tell male or female, and you're always talking through like a like a CB radio kind of thing. So it's hilarious that it's just taking what Starship Troopers did and pushing it on to that next level. And it's all of they're protecting. Somehow the bugs are threatening our democracy. And of course, within the game, there's all these little nuggets of stories that drop where you slowly start to find out like the bugs aren't the bad guys. Like actually we were farming these bugs for a liquid that's inside of them. And like, it's not even, they're just defending themselves, like not in a dissimilar way to maybe how this movie is, trying to indicate that the bugs are just defending themselves. But if you like Starship Troopers and you haven't played Helldivers 2, play Helldivers 2 because it's a game that takes the satire and dark humor of this movie, and this is a reference back to before, turns it up to 11. You just make 10 louder.
No, it goes to 11.
This one goes to 11. You all right there? One of these nights you're going to come to karaoke. I'm going to sing Big Bottom. I sang it already and really freaked out some older ladies who were there.
I know I've seen it, but I don't remember any of the.
You're gonna love it.
Okay.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I think that's Starship Troopers. I mean, ultimately, I wrote at the very bottom, fascism bad. Like that's the.
Well, that is still a question. I didn't think it was. I thought we had resolved this matter like 70 plus years ago, but apparently it is not. We still need to examine it, and there are people who are,
there are people saying fascism bad, but have you tried it with capitalism? I know they tried it with socialism, or with not socialism, with communism, I guess, because I don't know. You
gotta cook it properly.
Can you do fascism with socialism? Can you oppress the people with an authoritarian government and have them own the means of production?
It's sort of like inflammable. Sometimes it means flammable, and sometimes it means not flammable. It's things have all sorts of meanings. You got to try it all the different ways.
Yeah. But I think that's that's Starship Troopers.
All right. I'm not sure if I passed the test, but
I think you did, in so much as you didn't. While you may not have gotten the overtness of the satire,
I definitely was like Nazis.
Right. You got that what they were trying to say.
That's why cultural literacy is important, folks.
Yes. And the next time you watch this movie, you can go on the journey.
Okay.
You're the character that's supposed to take the journey to realize this stuff is wrong.
I can be Robert Sean Leonard saying no to Nazis.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, folks, we would love to know what you think about this. Which of the bug deaths was your favorite or least favorite?
I like the one where the lady gets her arm burned off by the.
That was one. It just disappears.
Yeah,
that was.
Yeah, it's like napalm almost. Yeah, it just melts it away.
Oh no, thank you. Which of the 90s faces was your favorite to see? Mine, of course, is Mrs. Teasley, but let us know what you think. You can get in touch with us a couple of different ways. You can find us on email or on Facebook. Our handle is the same for both. It's YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours. We're at gmail.com, or message us on Facebook. Also on Facebook, you can find links to our past episodes. I'm a little behind, but I typically put up links every time we have a new episode, which is every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, no matter when you're listening, there'll be a new episode up. Give me a little bit to catch up, and it'll all be up to date. And so 2 weeks from today, we have a new episode, and I am hosting, and it is summer-ish. Soon will be summer. I'm done with school, so everyone's done with school, so it's summer, and I'm going to show Dave over the summer some of these summer girly movies that are sort of formative for women of my age, which upon reflection are complete trash, but they formed me into the woman that I am. So for better or for worse. So next time we're going to be watching Grease.
Oh man.
I may or may not sing.
Great. I hope you do.
We'll do karaoke of Summer Lovin'.
Is that a duet? I don't know.
100%. Yes.
I feel like Grease is one of those things where I don't know if I've seen the whole movie, but I've seen enough of it to feel like I've watched it. And I don't know for sure. But
I need to warn you, like the whole movie is very, very long, and the best parts, you could just watch the best parts, and you've seen the best parts.
Good,
and you know the whole story. But
so that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna watch the best parts.
We kind of could. We kind of could fast forward through some stuff. But
we need like a revised. Where's the revised version of
It's
Grease?
Like the opposite of a supercut. It's like the ultra cut where it's just the good parts.
I need the minimalist cut.
Yeah. So anyway, we will see you next time with Grease. In the meantime, this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io. Okay, well, we'll start with that.
Yeah.
You'll be judged.
Yeah.
You will be judged.
Not in front of my Mother's Day. You can't judge me.
I can.
Yeah.
No one else knows it's Mother's Day.